that. All right. So we are here on, this is week 2 of the Money Magnetism series. Let me get the correct screen pulled up here. It's not that one. Or that one. Here we go. Okay. So here we are. Okay. So we are on week 2 of the Human Design and Gene Key's Money Magnetism series. And today we're really going to dive into this promise here that you have a shadow and a gift in every aspect of your chart. And learning how to embrace your gifts in a totally new way is what's going to help you make a big shift in your life and business. So again, this is what the Expansive CEO Mastermind is shifting into starting in September. So we will go over what that means after this free series here. So again, I think everyone here was here last week. Almost everyone. Ayla wasn't here last week, but Ayla, I do know you a little bit. And Monica, hi, Monica. Monica knows me as well. But just to reiterate, I'm Hannah. I am a certified financial planner. I've been in the financial industry for 17 years, since 2006. And human design has just opened up my heart and soul to me, to myself, in a way that I didn't know existed. And so that's really the space where I was already following my higher self guidance. And I've told this story in a couple of different places. I'll tell it very briefly here. But what I experienced when I was at my old firm, I was there for almost 14 years at the firm that I worked at before I launched X Squared Wealth Planning. And there was a time towards the end where things were getting very difficult. And I wasn't getting clients quite as easily. I wasn't being able to get clients the way that all the other partners were getting them, who, given my industry, you can guess what that was like, the bourbon tastings, the golf outings, all of that. That's how they knew how to get clients. And that did not work for me. And so all of the things that they had me try, it wasn't me. It really, truly wasn't. And when I was told point blank by one of the partners that, well, it's just not working out the way we thought it would with you, me building a book of business there at that firm. And immediately my higher self said, you don't know who I am. You don't know who I am. This is what I'm meant to do. I knew that so deeply, that I'm here to help people transform their financial lives. And I didn't even know how deeply that ran within me, but I knew it instinctively, that I was doing the right profession. I just couldn't do it their way. It was not working for me. And so I launched X Squared in January of 2021. And, I'm working, I'm believing in myself more than I'm being my own biggest cheerleader. And then when I found human design later that year, everything just clicked into place. It's like, yes, you're right. This is who you are. And it was so fascinating to me and so liberating in a way that it was like I could see myself. And when I've shared this with other people as well, like clients, and it's the tears of recognition when someone sees and is able to embrace who they are amazing to me every time. And it's like when I just see someone's chart and say, I'm noticing these things, and just have someone feel completely safe and seen because I'm speaking to something that they've felt was wrong about themselves. It's just been Such a gift. It really has. So for me, going through these new pieces, every new understanding that I get around human design or the gene keys is like unlocking a new little piece of the mystery. So at this point, everyone should have their human design chart and their gene key map. And then I'm going to share another little resource with you that Dennis and actually Ayla also sent hers. That was a gene key sequence that's also free. So I'm going to share that resource. It was really cool. But we're going to look at the benefit of looking at both human design and gene keys. Why do we look at both of them? And then we're going to explore the sphere of vocation. And we're going to talk about the line designations, what they are and what they mean as well. So there'll be a little bit of homework for you to practice as well. And we'll have a little bit of time at the end for sharing and questions. So the first aspect. Oh, wait, hold on. I want to stop. I want to share this resource. So Dennis had asked a beautiful question. He had said, is there anything similar to the comprehensive report for the gene keys? And I said, I don't know, because I hadn't seen this awesome report on the Gene Keys website yet. So there we go. This one right here, it shows you your genius sequence. So we're going over the prosperity sequence. It's a different sequence, but this is another little report that you can get on the Gene Keys website directly. That's also free. So you just go in and you put in your birth date, just like you gave it to me. You put the same thing into this website at genekeys.com, and it'll give you this information. So it'll give you some information on your genius, love, and prosperity sequences. And then it'll give you more information about the genius sequence in particular. One of the things I wanted to share is that when I went and did this, I did this today, literally, after Dennis shared his with me and read this. And once again, like tears came, because this one sentence here, the essence of your role is to change the way people think about themselves, about each other, and about the world at large. And that just rang so true in my heart that it was like, I see that about me. Then that's my evolution in this life. So I just want you to notice when you're reading through your own reports, when you're noticing things, a lot of this is really, really intuitive about what's pulling at you at the moment, and noticing that and following that thread of what feels interesting. So let me see if I can go back here. Yeah, right here. I'm gonna put this in the chat so that y'all can go do that as well, if you like that little Gene Keys report. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the sphere of vocation. Go back to that share. Ignore my hundreds of thousands of tabs. There we go. So if you have your Gene Key map, it's this one right here. So you can see that it's half red and half blue. So this is it's the end of the Venus sequence, the end of the love sequence, that's the red, and the start of the prosperity sequence, the blue. Right? So we've come up and around, and you've learned how to love yourself and others, right? This is a journey all into its own. And here, this is where they overlap and where you move into your prosperity sequence. This is mine. And I've blown it up here so we can see it a little more easily. So my particular vocation sphere is 1-6. It's the unconscious Mars on the human design map, right? So you can just note that. You don't have to like memorize that or anything. Just note that that's what it is. The unconscious Mars is also our core wound. This is the wound that we have to heal in this lifetime, and that also then ends up being the thing that we carry forward, move through the world to help heal in others. So again, using myself as the first example, the vocation sphere itself. So the human design information is, this is gate 1, the creative, creation as a primal force, the energy potential to manifest inspiration without limitation, and the gate of unique self-expression. So those are really important. And then if we look at the 3 pieces, the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi, the shadow is entropy, and that can either be depressive or frenetic. That's the repressive or reactive side. And the gift is freshness. So a lot of times with the gene keys, those keywords, what I notice, what I feel like is like entropy. I'm like, oh, I don't really know what entropy means. Is that sort of detailed description included in the link? Barry, what do you mean detailed description? Like this piece that I have written here? You can come off mute.
Yes, that piece. Because I've got the same chart, that you sent me from there, but it's not as detailed as this is for each aspect.
Right. Yeah. So it'll have these. You can choose to have these pieces. The link here, it only does the genius sequence. It doesn't have the pearl sequence or the prosperity sequence, unless you might be able to pay for that. That was kind of what I was getting. Like you could go further with that and pay for it, but it was a little bit different information. These are available on Genetic Matrix. So the gate 1, the creative, the gate information. If you don't have Genetic Matrix, you can also find that online if you just search the gate. So if I said human design gate 1 in Google, literally just in my search bar, it would pull up this information as well. So that's where that comes from. And then these 3 are, you can see these right here. Does that help? My screen stopped sharing. Oh no. My Google closed. That's not helpful. What other questions do people have while my Google restarts? Excuse me.
Are you going to do public like checks for people?
Yeah, yes, we will have time for that. So
I have a question on your vocation sphere. When you have a point, like a number and a 0.3 or a 0.2, is there any significance for that?
That is hugely significant. I think it's really, really significant. I think it gives so much more nuance to what's happening in your description. So the line designation, that's what that piece is. It's called the line designation. And so we'll get to that next as well, because mine was 1.6. So my Google Chrome is freaking out. So I don't know. Does anyone know if there's a way to get to Google Docs?
You can do it through Safari as well.
On Safari, yeah. I'm like, okay. Okay, I'm in my visitor session. So what I was going to say was the words sometimes are a little bit
Hannah, I do have a question. Jeffrey here.
Oh, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
So this is completely new to me. So I'm trying to figure this out as we go along. And obviously you and I can get offline to dive more into this, but just to kind of understand, I'm looking at my G key map that you forwarded over to me, and I'm looking at these numbers. So let's say, for instance, Pearl says 6.26. What does that number actually mean in regards to what I see life's work, vocation, radiance? If you can explain that, otherwise we can just take it offline. I'm just trying to better understand, and I apologize if I didn't pay attention enough last time. I'm just trying to
Oh,
figure out what all this means.
yes, beautiful. Yes. So that is exactly where we're getting. And thank you for your patience as I get this back up on Safari. It's working. Here we are. So the sphere, tell me if this is answering your question. So we're looking at the sphere of vocation. So we've got the 1.6 here. This is mine. So the first number is going to be the gate. The first number is the gate on human design. So you would go gate. What was yours again, Jeff?
Which one do you want? Which circle do you want me to give you?
The vocation, the red and blue one.
The vocation shows on mine 6.1.
6.1. So you would look for gate 6.
Okay.
Human design, gate 6. And then the 0.1 is the line designation, and we'll get to that next. So for you and Arthur, this is what you were asking about too, right? Are we going to look at ours?
Hannah,
Yeah.
I think what we're seeing is a black screen that shows loading. I don't know if anybody else is that way as well or not.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, thank you. Let's see. Let's try again. There we go. Thank you, guys. Oh, it's not. Is it still not sharing?
No, I don't see it.
Oh,
This is a black screen with a bar on top, and we see your mouse moving. There we go. There
see
you go.
that? Okay. We're going to leave it like that because it didn't like the full screen for some reason. Okay, so the 1 again, or the first number is the gate. If we go back and look here, this is mine. So again, this is my 1. So it's the gate. See, this is the human design chart. And it's the unconscious Mars, and it's right here. So they correlate, right? It's just a different, it's like we're taking that piece out and putting it over here in this other little container. And then when we zoom back in, that's where we look at this information. So Jeffrey, for yours, gate 6, I'd have to look up this information here, but if we can look at the gene keys, the shadow of your gene key is conflict. The gift of your gene key is diplomacy, and the siddhi of your gene key is peace. So that's the information that you're seeing here.
Well, that seems like a conundrum.
Tell me why.
Huh?
Why does that feel like a conundrum?
Well, there's so many differences there.
Yeah. So the shadow of conflict. The shadow of conflict is what you're looking for. The shadow being the thing that will show up in your work when you are not expressing as your highest self. And that will look like for you, the repressive versus the reactive side will be over attentive is if you're being repressed. The repressive nature of the 6th shadow is concerned with maintaining peace between people, regardless of the cost. You will maintain peace regardless of the cost. On the other side, if you're being reactive, the other side of the 6th shadow is unable to contain its emotions at all and that is tactless. Its lack of emotional tact and timing betrays a low frequency nature that it inevitably results in a backlash. And so if you find yourself on either one of those sides, either repressive, where you are bending over backwards to just make sure everyone else is okay, no matter what the cost is to you, you're in shadow. On the other side, if you're like, I'm just going to tell it like it is and just put it out there and, you know, not care what happens to anyone else, that's the tactless side. And that's still being in shadow, in conflict, in shadow. And the gift is when you notice these situations coming up in your business or in your life, the gift is, how can you move in diplomacy instead? How can you make a move from the place of seeing everyone else in their humanity? Is that helpful?
Yes, I appreciate that. Again, I'm still trying to process all this, so obviously I need a one-on-one with you.
Yeah, and that is absolutely possible as well. And I would love that. This is something that I love to dive into, to help people see, to connect the dots, right? Connect it to your vocation. So I want to stick with mine real quick, because I think everyone knows, you know, I'm a financial advisor. I'm also a financial empowerment coach, and I see myself as someone who is here to help guide people into their highest expression of prosperity and wealth. That doesn't mean to make everyone millionaires and billionaires, but to make you connect to your own definition of prosperity and wealth in life. What does it mean to you to truly be fulfilled and be prosperous? And so being creative, right? So to see this, I'm like, what does that have to do with creativity? Interesting. Okay. Creation is the primal force, the energy potential to manifest inspiration without limitation, the gate of unique self-expression. Interesting. What have I done as a financial advisor that is very different from the norm? How am I, like, literally the fact that I'm talking about human design right this moment, and Gene Keys, and my love for these tools, right, is a unique expression within my field. Because I'm still a financial advisor. I didn't leave that space. Right. So this is me embracing the pieces of me that are unique, that I find exciting, and allowing them out into the world. And so when I look at the shadow and the gift, especially, that's where I'm able to see, okay, what does entropy mean? I don't know what entropy means. It doesn't know off the top of my head. Oh, here we go. So we got Gene Key's book. Entropy, a simple definition of entropy, is a measure of the disorder or unavailability of energy within a closed system. More entropy means less energy available for doing work. So it's this feeling of like isolation coming in, of not like, oh, I don't have energy. I don't have any energy for this. Like a black hole almost. My energy is being sucked in. I'm feeling isolated. And so that really shows up for me here in this the repressed side for me. When I start to feel isolated, when I start to go into that black hole of isolation, that's me in that shadow side. And what's the gift? When I am aware that I'm in the shadow side, moving into freshness, moving into an expression that is new, that is unique, that I'm excited about, freshness being that creative spark. So when I move into the creative spark, that's when I'm moving in the right space for my vocation. So let's pause for a minute, because we're talking about the sphere of vocation. And so why does this matter? Why does the sphere of vocation matter? The shadow and the gift, again, through here. Your vocation is literally your purpose, right? It's the purpose underneath what you do. So your expression in this world, whether you are a marketing consultant or a financial advisor or a business astrologer or a copywriter, no matter what you do, that's the top line expression. What's going to be unique about you in your vocation is this piece, right? Is your gate expression. So if your gate, Antonella, here's the gate 27. So we'll have to look at what that means. Right. So what do you do? And then your gate is going to tell you what's your special flavor of that in your life. And then, the shadow of your vocation. The shadow of your vocation is simply that you do not follow your vocation. The shadow has us believe that we will not prosper from doing the things we most love. Our fear of taking the initiative keeps us locked inside ourselves. Worse still, it keeps us from transmuting our suffering into gold. Again, this is the wound, the core wound. So we want to move from suffering in our core wound to how do I help others? And so the question of vocation always is, how do I serve? How do I serve? How do I serve? And so if you are constantly in that question of how do I best serve? How do I best serve the collective? How do I best serve my clients? Then you are moving yourself into your gift energy over and over again. I love this little piece here. I put a little sticky. Insight comes through perseverance, and it often comes at you from life through some kind of reflection. To unlock the gift of your vocation is no small feat. It will always take courage, a certain level of risk, and a great deal of devotion. So always know that like the contemplation itself is very, very valuable. And what I said before of like following that intuitive spark of what comes next. Okay, so I want to make sure we have plenty of time for sharing. Let's see. Oh, this was a client example. This is another one that's so beautiful. This client is actually a diversity, equity, inclusion consultant, and she teaches at universities, and she does amazing work in the world. And seeing, I feel like it's the marketing, the line designation for her is really, really on point. The difficulty at the beginning, the fundamental challenge of initiation is to transcend confusion and establish order, right? Like, especially in the space she's in, this diversity, equity, inclusion in scientific research, difficulty at the beginning, right, is such a hard conversation to start. It's such a hard conversation to continue to hold space for. And she is uniquely suited to hold space for this conversation. And so it's just so beautiful to see how that actually happens out in the world. So now we're getting to the second number, the point. So for me, 1.6. So look at yours. And then these are the different line designations. And these are all available in the smaller books. And I love it how they've put this in the terms of like a movie production. So line 1 is production, the scriptwriter. Line 2 is marketing, the agent. And that was my client example. Line 3 is strategy, the producer. Line 4 is sales, the director. Line 5 is management, the promoter. Line 6 is philanthropy, the investor. And this is mine, which I just find hilarious every time I see just how in line that is. Kristen, you have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, are these line designations specific to lines in the vocation sphere, or are these the titles for every sphere?
These are specific to the vocation sphere. So every
Okay,
sphere.
that's what I thought, but I wasn't 100% sure. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. And again, those can be found in this book. So I want to give you an example so that you can hear. We're not going to read through all of them because it would take too much time. But line 2, so again, This is my client who's a DEI consultant. That's what she does. She goes and speaks at universities. The second line keynote in the sphere of vocation is marketing. It is a passionate, relationship-based, brilliant, and sometimes provocative, as well as fluid and responsive. The second line builds up a web of contacts and one-to-one relationships that allow it to have an unprecedented impact in the world. Whereas the first line has to work hard to dig down a strong foundation, the second line is all about effortlessness. Marketing is all about guiding the flow of information into the world. Again, guiding the flow of information into the world. It's important to not take the word marketing as literal in this instance. It's figurative and can best be understood at an archetypal level. The second line agent is a genetic karmic connector. They grease the wheels of prosperity through connecting the right people with the right ideas. If you have a second line vocation, there's nothing more exciting than when you find an idea or a product or a person worth guiding out of obscurity into the light. You're always looking for that pure transmission that you sense will have the maximum beneficial impact on the world. So again, let's tie this back to diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is a conversation that's so impactful and so needed right now. And she is the transmitter. She's the one of the, not the only, but she is one of the transmitters for this message out into the world. That's her vocation. That's what she's here to do. And the more she leans into that aspect, get the message out, the more her business grows. And it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal to see. With mine, line 6, philanthropy. The sixth line, as always, stands apart from the other 5. This does not make such people any more special than anyone else. If anything, their life and role is more challenging. This is because the sixth line represents a future ideal that still has not fully come into the world. In the case of the sphere of vocation, the role of philanthropist is still very marginal in the modern world. Today, we think of philanthropy as the luxury of the wealthy, rather than seeing it as a worldview that might one day be espoused by everyone. Philanthropy is also greatly misunderstood. This is different from charity, which can be understood as a general sense of goodwill and service aimed at those who are suffering. Rather, philanthropy refers to the investment of energy, time, and or money into an area where it will do the maximum amount of good. It's about seeing the long-term view. And so that, again, for me, like I was already saying this type of messaging out into the world. And then to have that mirrored back to me was such beautiful confirmation. And a way for me to hone that even further, to be really intentional with that, knowing that that's part of who I am. So I wanted to take some time. So yeah, we have a good 20 minutes, Barry, to do some questions and like some back and forth. Barry, what do you got?
Well, I did notice on the Gene Keys that the line may be the same number on different spheres, but it has different titles. So I figured that part out. So I'm ahead of the game on that one. However, I'm a 25/5 in the vocation. So the 5 says management promoter, and I'm not sure what that interprets as or explains, because I have the Gene Keys book, but I couldn't find that part in there. So is that the same book you're looking at, or is that a subset book you have? This
is one of the little books.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so these ones, yeah, give you the line designations. There's one for each. I would recommend them as well if you're interested. If it's like, oh, I need to know more about this, yes, like go for it. Line 5, management, the promoter. This one's so interesting. When we see, let's see. We're designed to interlock and work together. In the 5th line, it's the 5th line working in conjunction with the 6th line that has the capacity to completely transform our world. In the global synergy, the 5th line represents the management. There always has to be someone in charge, but the golden question is the same one Percival asks of the Holy Grail. Who are you truly in service to? Who are you truly in service to? If we put ourselves before the whole, then our entire approach becomes unsustainable. This is the foundation of our modern economic model. We have consistently seen the 5th line as the archetype of the leader throughout this Golden Path program, and the leader carries a heavy responsibility on their shoulders. The weight of the future, therefore, depends upon those with 5th lines in their profile, and in particular, those with a 5th line in their vocation. let's see, as the promoter of a new ideal, the fifth line's role is to oversee the whole project and to work out how best to deliver it to the world. They alone are answerable for the success or failure of any endeavor. If the fifth line is heavy-handed in their leadership style, then they will create friction and resistance within the organism. The high-frequency fifth line knows that nature itself is the most efficient when it has the freedom to self-organize. So there's a little bit more there, but what are you getting from Una? Barry, if you want to tell people, he's a relationship coach.
Yeah, what's interesting, because I'm all about love and relationships, and my vocation is universal love, like, which is going to be fun. And my the gift is acceptance, and the shadow is constriction. So I can definitely feel into how that is like openness and closure, and having, it's not demonstrated, but the management piece sounds like it's almost like instructing the world how to love more, or something to do with promoting this as the way through. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so you said 25, right?
25-5, yeah.
Okay. So 25. Yeah, so the shadow is constriction, gift is acceptance, the siddhi is universal love. Again, perfect. And then the repressive, this is the piece that's, I think, is even more helpful, the repressive or reactive. So in constriction, if you're feeling constriction, are you feeling the repressive or the reactive side? Repressive nature is ignorant. The 25th shadow teaches us something profound about the nature of ignorance. In reality, it's a form of repression. All repressive natures essentially use their energy to maintain a state of ignorance. Ignorance in this context refers to the inability to look at your own pain. So you want to be ignorant of your own pain. You're refusing looking at your own pain. On the reactive side, just as the repressive nature is unable to own the depth of the sacred wound within, the reactive nature is unwilling to own it. These people express their pain through projection. Thus, they are cut off from their hearts in a different way. So they're projecting their pain on everyone else. What do you notice? So
these are the people.
Yeah. This is
I mean,
going
I've
to
worked with that myself.
right. Yeah. So yeah, where do you notice that in your work? Where do you notice?
Well, it feels like I'm attempting to educate people about this piece, which is about that. It's more the repression than it's more about the ignorance than the suppression in a sense. And the challenge is, it feels like it's landing on deaf ears oftentimes. So I feel like, because I'm pointing out what it feels like, I'm pointing out to people who don't get it what will get them through this to the other side. But the lack of response, which may just be the algorithms, I know, but at the same time, the feeling that the people who are hearing this are either too scared to face it, or they think they're better than it. That's not part of their, not their issue, sort of thing. They avoid it. That's the experience I keep having. Well, excuse me, that's the experience I feel like I'm having. Let's be accurate about that. So this is the dance I'm having in terms of messaging and communicating, because I know how this works. I've been there through this, the other side of it. I mean, I live it and teach it, but the students aren't always available to it,
Yeah. The piece that's coming through to share that I don't think we'll be able to go through in this little series, but is your conscious Mercury. Look at your conscious Mercury. That's Mercury rules communication.
Mm-hmm.
And so your conscious Mercury is the space where your message, right? How you communicate out into the world. And so look there, notice the gate, and the same thing, the gate information, and then the gene keys as well. And then that's a place where if your messaging is filtered through that lens, it should move out into the world more easily.
Got it. Okay. Homework. Good.
There's Barry's individual homework.
Yes.
Yes. Jeff, actually, Jeffrey, I'd love to answer this question in the room. Actually, you mentioned that I gave you a birth time of 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern. So there in genetic matrix, there was a little bit of a glitch that was pushing New York and New Jersey birth dates to the wrong universal time. And so I had to shift it so that it was on the correct universal time. So yes, the chart that I gave you is correct based on the accurate universal time. And I had to do that. Who else was, there were a couple other people who were New York, New Jersey. Yeah. Where the universal time was not correct. So I shifted it to make it correct. Does that make sense? Okay, awesome. How about another one? Another question. We have time for another. How about Arthur and then Jeanette?
So I just I didn't actually listen too deeply to what you said today because I was looking at my own gene key because I put it in and the information was like spot on. So the three things that it said, I wasn't really looking at like the pictures or the angles, but like it said a few things like how my purpose in the world is to one of my things is radiance, which means it's not about needing one particular person, but having great relationships with everybody. And I wonder if you have any insight on that, or the other thing, which is I was also told how I should like my purpose in the world is to open my heart continuously and never endingly to everyone and everything, no matter how bad or good it is. And even when I get hurt, to keep opening my heart. If other people hurt me, to keep opening my heart, and also to have healthy boundaries as well, but keep opening the heart. So those two things. I wonder if you have any comment on that, or you want to read my chart.
Yeah. So what was your vocation sphere? What was the numbers there?
Vocation sphere. I don't really wait. Let's see. You mean in foundation chart, quantum, tropical, or something? Okay.
Yeah, you can look. No, the other one where it has the circles.
Oh yeah. Okay. Life's work is light.
See the one that's red and blue?
Oh yeah, right. Oh, sorry, I found it out. Forgiveness, understanding, intolerance, and line 5, management responsibility. Like it's red and blue, and it's 4.5.
Yeah.
Vocation.
So you're that same 5 that we just went over. And Kristen was that too. Kristen and Barry were also line 5. The 4th Gene Key is beautiful. This is actually one of mine that I contemplate a lot as well. From intolerance to understanding to forgiveness. And this piece, the intolerance piece, is tied to the folly of youth, is what it says in the Gene Keys book. So the folly of youth being, you know what? Everyone makes mistakes, right? That's truly what that is. Like, we're human. It's coming to the understanding that we are all human. We're all going to mess up. But the shadow is going to be intolerant about that. The shadow is going to say, no, you're not allowed. You're not allowed to make mistakes in some way, shape, or form. And so the repressive nature of that is going to be apathetic. And that's going to be someone who is so like shut down that they just don't care anymore about what's going on around them. And the reactive side is going to be the nitpicking side that says, no, it has to be perfect. You have to be perfect. Everything about you is wrong, right? Like, you can never be good enough. All of those messages are messages of intolerance to what is basically just normal human expression.
So I feel intolerant about other people or about myself?
Both. It'll be, where is it showing? Yeah, where is it showing up in both ways? And where, so this is the gift side. Where can you move into understanding? How can you all of the, aspects of put yourself in someone else's shoes, walk a mile in their shoes, find compassion for someone. That's the action over and over. The action of this one is to always find compassion, always find understanding, always create bridges of understanding, rather than allowing yourself to stay in the nitpicking.
I have a lot of compassion. My problem is more like difficult to be gentle and patient with people.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, that might be in the space of where are you trying to push someone faster? Where are
Yeah.
you not allowing someone their own process?
Mm,
And then move into understanding of that.
mm.
Does that help?
That's very helpful. Yeah. So basically, I need to like I don't think tolerance is the right word, but be like just accept other people for where they're at, basically, and accept myself for my own weaknesses, and accept other people for their weaknesses and strengths, alternatively. So
Mhm.
I got what I wanted.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
Jeanette, what were you gonna ask?
Yes, so I have more of a technical question, because I'm trying to, like, it all makes sense, like connecting it to human design. But my question is, do you know why in Gene Keys, they're seeing a couple of planets, so for the spheres, and not all of them? If there's
Oh no, you're breaking up a little bit. Oh, now you're back. Can you hear me, Jeanette?
oh, yeah.
There you are. There you are. So your question was, the last part I heard was, it seems like they're missing a couple of planets. What was the rest of that?
Yeah, so Key Genes just shows what is it, 6 planets compared to human design. Is there a reason for that? I mean, it's very technical. I was just curious.
Yeah, so the different sequences are pulling what kind of those core wounds in the different areas. So like the Venus sequence, right? That's going to also pull from the mother wound, the unconscious Venus. Jupiter, both unconscious and conscious, tends to be part of our wounding as well. So they're selected pieces where for these different sequences in particular. But yeah, it doesn't encapsulate everything. What I have found though, I use Genetic Matrix. I really enjoy that software. If I have a question about any particular thing, I actually look at the gene keys for any gate. So even if they're not in part of like one of the pathway sequences, I still really like to look at that information, because then the shadow and the gift always apply to, whatever challenge I'm having on that particular gate or channel. Does that help or make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Do one more, Melanie. Inspire. So 7.5 with yours. Let's look at it.
Yeah, I'm interested to know that because I know there's 1 through 6 profiles, but where is the 7 coming from? Is that referring to a gate?
7 is gate. Yeah, gate 7 of your human design. And so that one, so if you Google gate 7, it'll give you a whole bunch of information about that. And then you also have the 0.5. We've got a lot of managers in here. A lot of leaders, a lot of managers. I think that's funny. But yeah, the shadow of Gene Key, of the 7th Gene Key, is division, and the gift is guidance, which I think is super interesting for you, for what you do. In a world divided, the 7th shadow division is one of the main reasons human society operates in hierarchies. Not only is this shadow responsible for the manifestation of hierarchy, but it also makes you think in terms of hierarchy. And the repressive nature is hidden, and the reactive nature is dictatorial. When the 7th gene key is repressed, it simply fails to manifest in the world. These people can carry the genetic imprinting for recognition as leaders, but remain hidden. This creates immense pressure within them, as well as frustration and resentment, all of which can manifest as physical symptoms in the body and emotions. So where are you hiding, right? And you see this, I would guess, you can tell me if that's true or not, when people want to know what you have to say, but they're hiding that desire.
I just did a bunch of networking calls today in which I communicated that that is the exact challenge I have with finding clients. It's kind of backdoor, it's kind of super private, and I usually encounter them in chance encounters. So it's interesting.
Melanie is a business astrologer. And so if anyone knows companies, right, this is a great place to ask that question, because you're going to be in with a whole bunch of people who are like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, but that's definitely part of it. That hidden nature versus the dictatorial side, which you probably don't see quite as much, but that knows well that it's a leader and takes full advantage of it by abusing its position. These people use those who follow them to their advantage, thus reinforcing their status as followers. True leadership encourages people not to rely on others, whereas this style of leadership demands complete reliance. Right, so that's maybe you don't see that quite as much as the repressive nature, and then the gift there is guidance. This is funny. The power behind the throne is the Gene Key. True leadership, like true education, does not impose itself on anyone. It's a gift of being able to help others find their own way forward in life rather than taking away their individual power.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Before I did this, I was a social worker and I had to, of course, follow HIPAA. But even then, that's still like a backdoor, like, thing that people don't really think about, but it's a necessary service. So
Yeah. Yeah, that is fascinating.
thank you for that.
You're welcome. So we want to be super mindful of time, but that will be the action, and the homework from this week is, what is the shadow? So take your numbers, so 7.5, 24.1, 64.3, whatever it is, that first number, Google that. Google gate 64, human design, and just read about it. Learn about that gate. What does it mean? And then on your Gene Key map, it's going to give you the 3. It's going to give you the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi. If you have any questions about, if it's got a weird word like mine with entropy, where I'm like, I don't understand. Yeah, Rachel, I'm a 6/9 as well. So that's a good one. But yeah, so look up your gate. Think about your line designation, if you can look that up. And then this next step is where, when, and how do you notice the shadow showing up in your business and life? So that first step is always awareness. Always, just becoming aware. Write down where, when, and how you notice the shadow of your vocation showing up in your business and life. The second step would be acceptance of that. And letting it just be what it is. Notice what part of you is really crying out for love and attention with that. If you're feeling, for me, if I'm feeling really isolated, if I'm going into that like black hole, that's me loving on myself, giving myself the love of, oh, I see you. You feel like you're alone, like you're isolated. Let's find people to connect with who feel good, who that you can ease back into connection with, right? So that's me. The third step is then action. Look at your gift. What action can you take in the gift energy of your vocation to move your business forward? And again, I think everyone has their information here. If you don't have it for some reason, email me with your information. If you have any questions that pop up, like, email me. I would love to interact with you during this time, during this whole month. And just as a reminder, was there a question?
One real quick thing on the vocation sphere, as I was referencing the book, I have 1 of 4 and 2 of 4. Is there another thin book, a 3 of 4, where the vocation sphere information comes?
Yes, this is 3 of 4.
3 of 4, that's what I'm missing. Okay.
Oh no, yeah, you need that one.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. So this series will continue on as the mastermind starting in September. That'll be $111 per month, or $555 if you pay for 6 months at a time. Private sessions to unpack everything. So this would be 3-hour-long sessions. Deep dive is $1,500 with me personally. We'll go through everything, your business, your life. I love it. So much fun, truly. The Expansive CEO program is a 6-week program to create true clarity around your business and personal finances. That is $997 for 6 modules plus weekly live Q&A. Similar to this, but all just pure Q&A about what you're learning in the modules on a separate call. And that's a 6-week program. If you have any questions about those, you can let me know. And if you have any questions about actual comprehensive financial planning and investment management as well in X Squared, you can look on my X Squared website or email me about that as well. So it is 3:59. We did great on time. I have another good 15 minutes or so to leave the room open. If you have to leave, feel free to go. And thank you for being here. I loved seeing all your beautiful faces. If you have any other questions and you want to stay, the room is open. Any questions? Kira, you're first.
Thank you. It's just a brief question on your offerings. Are you going to be offering them multiple times throughout the year? Like how, like would you show the slide about the programs again that you're offering?
Yeah. So for me, it feels really kind to have everything be basically evergreen, so that there's never a sense of like, you have to sign up now or you miss it. That just doesn't resonate for me. And so I don't do it. And so the Expansive CEO program is an open container. The live Q&A is always at the same time every week. And then people can start whenever they want, whenever they need to. The Expansive CEO Mastermind, I'm planning to have that be an open container as well. So people can come in whenever they want. And then, stay for 6 months or stay for a year or stay forever. I don't know. We'll see how long it goes. But yeah, just having open containers that allow for people to make the decision when it feels right for them is what feels right for me. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah, I'm just filling it out myself, and it feels like doing the mastermind and then doing private sessions after that would feel really good once I kind of have like a little bit more of a grip out myself. And so I'm just curious if like it would be possible to do those 6 months and then private sessions later on, if you are still planning on doing that.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That answers my question.
Thank you. Antonella.
Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
Thank you. So my question was in regards to what you said to look up. So you said, so the first number is the gate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second is the line. But what were you, I was confused when you said the key is on the other chart.
Oh, the Gene, are you talking about the Gene Key map?
I think so. I have the two things, right? The one with the circles and the other one.
Yes. So the Gene Key map is the one with the circles.
Okay, and then we're looking at the numbers there under vocation, right? The first number and then the line.
Yes. So the first number you would Google, what are your numbers?
61.2.
Yeah. So you would Google gate 61.
Okay.
Human design. And then that's going to give you all of your gate 61 information.
Okay.
And just lots, you're going to get lots of information. And then 61.2, is that what you said?
Yes.
And then your point 2. Point 2 is marketing, the agent. So that's the same one that the client example that I had shared. And that's the second line involves and revolves around specific relationships. When a second line follows their true love in life, they will often find themselves drawn to a first line person. An example might be the relationship between the creator and the agent, or the artist and the muse. The second line can help temper the rawness of the first line, refining it and steering it. It's interesting.
Okay.
That was the piece that jumped out at me to read. But the other piece was really the second line agent is a genetic karmic connector. They grease the wheels of prosperity through connecting the right people with the right ideas.
Okay.
Connecting
And
the
then,
right ideas.
yeah, it's funny because I do marketing and I started like a couple years, like 2 years ago, and I was like, I found my thing. Like it just connected so many things for me.
Yeah.
And then you were saying, so the gift, the shadow, that's what's also on that map, right?
Yes, those are the three
Okay.
words there.
Okay, yeah, I see them here. Thank you, Hannah.
Yeah, you're welcome. And the repressive, I don't think, oh, it does say the repressive and the reactive natures, right?
Where is that?
So it should say the shadow and then in parentheses.
Yeah, it does say like my challenge next to it.
Yes. So you're either going to be disenchanted in the repressive or fanatical in the reactive. Those are
Okay.
the two sides of the pendulum
Okay.
that you can use.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Jenny, what's up?
Hi, I am feeling a little lost. I feel like I don't know enough to know what I'm looking at. Like the tips you're giving are very, very helpful. And I'm so appreciative like to have this information in the chart in general. But I was wondering when you were first starting out learning about human design, was there like one book or video series or something that you found was really basic that might be helpful to look at before? Is it the book that Dennis put in there earlier, or what kind of like opened it up for you to understand it a little better?
Yeah, so I just someone else just asked me this and I was like, okay, so what would have felt better? Because when I found human design, I could not find any easy resources. I just like scoured the internet and like created a Word document with just like all the information I could find. And it was very like awesome, but also confusing.
Yeah.
And then I started working with someone who was starting her business of actually like doing human design readings. And so that was really helpful for me. But if I could go back, if I could see myself, 2.5 years ago and say, hey, this is going to make this a lot easier, I would have gotten this one. This is what I recommended to my friend. I would have just gotten this book. And so this is the Human Design, the Science of Differentiation by Linda Bunnell, Bunnell.
Okay.
Hannah, those are the ones that you posted last time, right? We got pictures of them and stuff.
Yeah, they are. They are. And because this one, I mean, it's big, but it's also like you can just digest one piece at a time. You don't have to read the whole thing, right? You can like, right.
I feel like I need a primer. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you do the $35 report, like the comprehensive one? That one is probably the easiest, like digestible.
Okay.
That one is probably the best for that. And then after that, this one.
Thank you. That'll help me be a bigger part of the conversation. I feel like I'm listening to what you're saying, but I'm just not quite getting it yet. And I feel if I had a little bit more information, then I would be able to, receive and be part of it more. So thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for being here. And even just like being in the fact that you like are hanging in there and you're like, I want to know this. Like you're like, again, follow that thread, follow the curiosity. Right? Because if you didn't care, you'd be like, oh, I'm gonna leave.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Anyone just want to talk and chat for a minute? How are you doing, Ayla? Or Kira, what's up?
Oh, did Ayla unmute? Oh, okay. I did have one more question about the vocation sphere. So you were talking about like the 6 being the something specific.
Philanthropist.
Or the investor, I think.
The philanthropist, the investor.
Yeah, and so when I'm looking at my line 6, it says philanthropy, and then in parentheses it says ethics. How do those connect with the investor piece?
So this one is so interesting. And Barry, I think you're similar to me. So I am a sixth line, like in my profile, I'm a 6'2". I have tons of sixth lines throughout my whole profile. Barry, I think you're similar. Kira, I'm not sure. I'll have to look at yours and see if you're similar as well. That sixth line all across is like the role model, the teacher, the educator, the one that sees the whole. And so I'm saying that to say that the sixth line in a lot of this contemplation is the future view. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're a futurist. It could, but it's like the future view when things are actually working. And so this line in particular, it's super interesting. I'll read it again. The sixth line, as always, stands apart from the other 5 lines. This does not make such people any more special than anyone else. If anything, their life and their role is more challenging. This is because the sixth line represents a future ideal that has still not fully come into the world. In the case of the sphere of vocation, the role of the philanthropist is still very marginal in the modern world. Today, we think of philanthropy as the luxury of the wealthy rather than seeing it as a worldview that might one day be espoused by everyone. So that's one aspect. That philanthropy itself is seen as for the chosen few rather than as a piece of the whole, the piece of the collective. The sixth line is therefore the ultimate investor. They consider the Grail question constantly. What is the purpose of our business? What is the use of financial success if we do not serve a vision beyond ourselves and beyond our current generation? The sixth lines of the world may well feel as though they hardly yet belong in a world where the higher purpose of prosperity still goes unquestioned. So we're asking the question of what's the higher purpose? So that's the
why the ethics is in parentheses, because it's kind of about that higher purpose piece. Okay.
Yeah, the ethics of the ethics of wealth.
line.
Yeah, the ethics of prosperity. That who are you serving? Who are you serving with this wealth?
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. What else? One more. Time for one more.
I have a question, Hannah.
Yeah.
Dominique. So on the you said on the ajnas that you and I had a lot of similarities on the. We don't have to go all into that right now, but I thought that was interesting. But I even noticed that I'm a reflector. But when I did a really long podcast, when I was answering and the questions, I kept and sometimes I think people can be indecisive when they're doing that, but I kept looking up. My eyes will go up towards my head. I would pause. And when I look back, I was like, I wonder if some people may infer she's not sure what she's talking about, but it's like, I just pause because I'm a reflector. And I guess I'm just pulling from there since you said I have a lot of centers open there. So it was interesting to notice that.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah. So Dominique is talking about she's a reflector. So on your human design chart, you'll have colored in centers. She has none. None are colored in. They're all open. So instead, it's just the gates. So there are no connected channels at all. They're all just gates. And reflectors are like 1% of the population. So there's no authority technically. But what I noticed when I looked at her chart was that she has, I think it's 5 out of 6 gates on the ajna, on the mind, are lit up.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's like most of them. So yeah, that's super interesting because it feels like that. And I think your spleen was pretty highly defined as well. I think there are quite a few gates on your spleen. And so it's those oh, where do you have energy kind of innately kind of pulsing?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I do take action faster than a 28-day cycle, or I'll come up and make a decision. If it's something really big, I feel like I want to wait, but sometimes I need to be able to make a decision faster. Mm-hmm. So that was just interesting. And then I don't know, I was thinking of just searching up something maybe on YouTube about because my vocation is 56.3. I'm just curious. And in life, 3 is my number. 3s always show up for me all the time. And I was born at 23:33 at night on Halloween, almost midnight.
What's your profile lines?
My profile line.
Are you a 1-3?
Or I'm a 2-4.
You're 2-4.
Hermit. Yes, that's why I'm not on camera right now. I'm hermiting.
You're allowed to hermit. I'll let you use your 2 is your dominant there.
Yeah.
Yeah, distraction, your shadow of the 56 gene key, the shadow of distraction, the gift of enrichment, and the siddhi of intoxication. I
Wow.
feel like that like fits pretty well.
Okay. Okay, good.
And the shadows here also, the repressive nature is sullen and the
Mm,
active nature is overstimulated.
okay. I'll look at that.
Dominique is a tantra.
Yeah,
coach.
I've been a nurse. I've been a nurse for decades, but I'm a certified tantra educator and a trauma-informed master coach. So
yeah, that seems just so spot on. That's so interesting.
yeah.
So
Thank you. Thank you. I really love it.
yay, I love it too. All right, everyone. I have got to go prep for the next thing, but thank you so much for being here and hanging out with me and managing through the
Thank you.
tech difficulties today.
Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
See you
Thanks,
next week.
Bye.
Have a good day,
Thank
everyone.
you.